Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the December 2nd regular meeting of the Hyde Park Planning Board. Please take note of the exits around the room in case of emergency. Now join me as we reassert our fealty to the American flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. A couple of housekeeping items. First, on a sad note, I'd like to take a moment of silence to recognize the tragic deaths of 14 more Americans that occurred just this evening, I believe in California? San Bernardino. And on a better note, I'd also like to point out that Board Member Chris Oliver and his wife, Laura, just welcomed a brand new baby since our last meeting. Congratulations, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thanks for sharing all the pictures as well. She's beautiful.
Yes.
The first item on the agenda is a continued public hearing for Mike's Auto Center. May I get a motion to reopen the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Just a side note, the applicant doesn't seem to be here, nor his representative. At the last meeting, we adjourned this for a month in order to give the applicant's representative time to respond to issues raised by all of us, also issues that were consolidated into a Morse Associates memorandum. If I could sort of summarize those very briefly, they would be that we still haven't pinned down a total number of permitted vehicles. All the uses on the site must be defined, including the areas for, quote, commodities recycling or salvage yard, the tow yard, parking for the tow trucks and snow plow trucks, et cetera. Some of the issues that Ms. Axelson put in her memorandum from Morse Associates were answered with just a few that were already answered, but we're still waiting for information. That noted, this morning, the supervisor, deputy supervisor, myself, the town attorney, the prosecuting attorney, and Victoria Polidoro, our planning board attorney, all had a meeting to discuss this. If you'll recall, this application is before us because it's got about 17 violations. Because the pace of the court has been adjourning this with the idea that the applicant would act in good faith and get back information to us on a timely basis. Since it doesn't appear that that's happening, and I'm not trying to blame anybody, it could be that it's taking longer for Mr. Burns, his representative. Not sure what, but the town board is going to be sending, or the prosecuting attorney is going to be sending a letter indicating that they plan on going to court in January. That does not affect us at all. I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew. One of the things that we discovered today, or at least that was new to me, and I want to make sure everybody here is aware of it, you do need a license in order to operate a used car sales enterprise. The license lapsed 9 years ago when the first violations were pointed out. They've never been, there's a fee for it. It hasn't been paid in 9 years. So it seems likely that even if the other violations aren't recognized, that one will pretty much work. In addition, the town attorney indicated that there's another avenue besides just town court, because that's a criminal proceeding, and that's going through a civil injunction. And if the applicant doesn't come forward fairly quickly, the town is prepared to move forward with a civil injunction. And what that means is you go to state court, Supreme Court, and if you receive an injunction and the threshold, as I understand it, is pretty low, like operating without a license, is a clear zoning violation, then in that case, an injunction is issued and the business stops, in which case he'll be unable to operate until he has the site plan approval again, because to get a license, you have to have site plan approval. Again, that's why this is proceeding. All that noted, any comments, Ms. Axelson?
No, just I laud the town for trying to pursue a remedy so that this business can stay in operation.
Thank you. Yeah, none of us want to see a business go under in Hyde Park, but there are some rules to follow, and these have not been followed lately in this particular case. Any comments from the board? Either side?
Thank you for the update.
Yeah, thank you for the update, and I feel really sad because I felt like we were making progress and we had gone and spoken to them, and the representative was working slowly but surely, and it's disappointing that it's come to this point.
I agree. It's very disappointing. Any other comments? Any comments from the public about this application? When would you guys like to adjourn this to? the first meeting in January, the second meeting in January.
Did you say there's a chance it may go to the state court in January, or it is definitely going?
It's already been filed with the town court, with Justice Steinberg. There'll, of course, be a change in our town justices. I believe Justice...
Do we know the date for that, Michael?
That's what
I don't know,
trying to get
I don't know the court
at.
calendar. I don't know the
I
court
mean, it would
calendar.
probably
That
make
shouldn't
sense to
impact
adjourn,
wait.
so at least that meeting has occurred in the courts, so we know what direction things are going.
I think, well, again, this won't affect us.
This is not supposed to impact us.
It won't affect us because they have to,
We're
no, they'll have
supposed
to proceed no matter
we're
what.
supposed to proceed independently.
In a town court, the only remedy are fines, so the applicant would pay fines, but until the violations are corrected, the fines start mounting, I think it's every week, as long as it's noted by Ms. Moss.
Well, Michael, am I not correct? I seem to recall something many years ago where we could not proceed or take any kind of an action on something where there was an outstanding violation, and they shouldn't even be appearing before
No,
us.
with the except, you're right, except for one thing. If they have a notice violation, we can take no action unless the action we take will bring them more into conformance, which is why they're here. They're pursuing this so that they can come into conformance in the first place. So I don't mind adjourning this to January 20th. That would, I
That's
think,
probably a safe.
that's
I
at
think
least,
that
like
makes
that.
good
there's one
sense. I
court
really
date
do.
already there. So may I get a
Not wasting
motion?
our time.
Yeah, may I get a motion to adjourn this to January 20th?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. The next item on the agenda is Matt's Used Auto Parts. Some of us on the board will be familiar with this site because we just did a subdivision for the Moltz. And it's been Moltz for many decades, 5 decades, there you go. I'd like to welcome the new proposed owner who's sitting in the back to our left. And briefly, nothing is being proposed here. I think I sent you all an email about this. It's a quirk in our code. It specifies that a license for a salvage yard does not transfer with the sale of title. A license to be issued must have site plan approval in the new owner's name. So all we're doing tonight is typing the action, and this is a type 2 action, Victoria and I determined. I actually went to the DEC website, and number 26 is sale of property where there's nothing proposed. That means there's no seeker actions, no EAF required, nothing. So all we have to do tonight is, well, by resolution, type the action instead of public hearing. So anybody have any questions?
No, seems pretty straightforward.
It is. Who has this resolution?
I do.
Thank you, Chris.
Resolution typing the action, Matt's Used Auto Parts, resolution number 15-50. Whereas. Now therefore be it resolved that the planning board hereby classifies the action as a type 2 action under SECRA. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries, and make it a motion to set this public hearing for December 16th.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Anything you guys wanted to add? Welcome to Hyde Park. I know your mother already lives here. Still nice to see the business changing hands and staying operating and opening. Thank you very much.
After December 16th, then he can apply for his license? Is that the deal?
The next item on the agenda is a sign permit recommendation for Great Value Storage. This sign, I was out actually putting up campaign signs at 5:30 in the morning because I was nutsy, and I happened to notice that there was a new sign, and I asked Ms. Moss, who said, oh yeah, they've come in, they just have already erected it. So there were 2 signs, which is why one had to be taken down.
Yay.
Yes.
Been there forever.
And the lighting, we just inquired, the lighting will be downlit on this one.
Excellent.
So, any questions about this? We all had a chance to take a look at the sign?
Yeah, it's great.
And the letters are pretty small, so it's out there near the high school, that area? Or I should say the elementary? Yeah, next to Julian's.
Deli.
Who has this resolution?
Michael, do we have an updated letter from Tad on this?
It should be November 23rd, 2015.
I haven't.
That's right.
Okay.
Thank you.
And did she approve it?
Yes, she recommended it. She can't approve until we give our recommendation.
I don't think I have it.
No,
You can
I
read
thought she had in there something about needing an area variance.
yes.
Let me check my
I was
folder a
very
minute.
confused.
It's in this letter.
Yes, it's been superseded by the 23rd.
Okay, I do not have the 23rd, that's why. Okay, thank you.
It should, wait, are you sure it's not right below? There you go.
Okay. I'm
No,
satisfied
good question,
now.
good question. It was just a little out of order.
Yeah.
You ready, Victoria?
Yeah. Okay. Resolution recommendation for issuance of sign permit pursuant to Town Code Section 108-24.3A, Sub 4, Sub D, in 1582 Route 9G freestanding sign, parcel 6166-04-770347. Whereas, be it resolved, the board hereby recommends the sign permit be issued within 10 days of this resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. Next item on the agenda is a sign permit recommendation for St. Timothy Lutheran Church. And actually, the sign that has been there was out of conformance, and they willingly came in to bring it into conformance, which is really nice to always see.
It's an old sign.
They're
Can you see down there, Ms. Kane?
they're
Oh,
reusing, yeah.
thank
they're-
you.
They're reusing some of the existing sign,
That's great.
but keeping it in, I think, a nice look. It's still a wooden sign. So everybody had a chance to review it?
I have.
Yes,
Any
we're very
questions?
happy to see that.
Who has this resolution?
I do. Resolution recommendation pursuant to Town Code Section 108-24.3A Sub 4D, St. Timothy Lutheran Church, whereas, now therefore be it resolved, the board recommends issuance of the sign permit as specified in the code, and that it be maintained such that the uplighting does not cause nighttime glare for drivers along 9G.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. The last item on the agenda tonight is discussing local law, Chapter 93. My apologies for not attaching what I did.
That's quite all right.
So if you would, the letter summary was really, it was pretty brief. They were missing what in word editing is called an M dash, which is the longer dash as opposed to the N. And that was in the definition section. Also in the definition sections, there were a couple of things where there was no period, a couple of sentences, I should say. A couple of commas missing, and two new definitions said means that, which you don't need that in a definition because that's implied, so I suggested taking that out. And the only, as I said, sort of substantive change that I suggested was in sensitive areas. When Ann and I did our biodiversity assessment training, one of the things that we were taught was that while some intermittent streams are mapped, most of them aren't. But when you see topography lines where there's a little like an arrow, and you see the slopes going down, we can guarantee you that there's going to be a little stream where those arrows all line up on top of each other. And
For a
so
few months, yeah.
yeah, for a few months. And so since some of those lead into sensitive wetlands, which are already sensitive areas, and since some lead into Class C, B, or A streams, which are directly flow into the Hudson, I thought it might behoove them to add that in there. Ms. Moss already told me that she thought it was a great idea.
I actually think that it strengthens the definition of sensitive area, because when it says habitats for threatened, endangered, or special concern species, a lot of them
Utilize.
need the intermittent stream
exactly
in
right.
order
Right.
to do that.
And I have to say I'm still delighted that we had the chance to take that training, even though it was a year long. It taught a lot.
Yes.
Anybody else have any additions or comments?
I know it's old information in there, but I find it intriguing that you actually, as a contractor, you have to have a daily activity log. I don't even know where that's supposed to be kept. Is that something that should be defined?
It's actually, Tad goes and checks.
What do you know about that?
Well, Tad was not the stormwater management officer, SMO. The SMO was Pete.
Right, it was the town
Which
engineer. I
now-
noticed that change.
It's supposed to be the zoning enforcement officer. So when you have a subdivision, which is where these take the longest, there's a little box on a post, and it has to be updated and put in that little box, and Tad goes and checks it periodically.
Interesting. I did not know that piece
I
of
wouldn't
trivia.
have known, but the subdivision.
It's like a little slip box. It's a
Yes.
mailbox that says slip on it.
Yes, the subdivision that's up there off 9G, I'm sorry, off 9 and It's Mr. Macho's, I forget
Oh,
the name
right,
of it.
yeah.
That, the slope is so steep that, and we had erosion there before, that's where it's had to be checked a lot, I mean, really often. And Chris is right, it's called a SWIP box, like a little post
Down
office
at
box.
Poughkeepsie, they usually have the engineers come out daily and or weekly and
Okay.
take pictures of everything.
It's pretty much depends on how sensitive the area is. So the more sensitive, obviously, the greater it's checked, the more frequency, et cetera. And with site plans, it's usually not as big a deal because you're almost always, or usually looking at areas that are commercial or more easily developed. So anyway, then could I get a motion to authorize me to send the letter with the attachment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any other business? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Media Committee, and thank you, Planning Board Alternate Mr. Booth, for coming, as always, faithfully tonight to learn.
All right. Let me
Take it.
return the file.
Hey, Booth.
Paper.